Organic Mike here. A lot of people have been asking me about tuning their Airlift pumps once they get them installed, so I was just going to do a quick run through on what you're looking for as far as optimum flow coming out of your well and the type of pulse that you should be seeing if you got it tuned optimally. So optimally, is that a word? I don't think so. Anyway, so here's my pressure. That doesn't matter. Your pressure is going to be governed by the depth of your well, the static level of your well basically, and how deep you have the pump down the well. I've never found Airlift not to work in any well, so people that are saying my well won't work with Airlift, I've seen it work in situations to where the well is actually 24, 25 feet deep and there's only 5 foot of water in the bottom, which is it wasn't supposed to work, but it did. So it's always worked for me. It just lowers your production is all it is. So you won't get as many gallons per minute. So anyway, what you're seeing here, this is how I'm doing this. I'll keep it short, I hope. This is the pulse you're looking for. So this is what you want. It's almost a constant flow. You can hear it pulsing. This well is 68 feet deep and the pump is set pretty close to the bottom. It's about a foot off the bottom. And my static level, which means the water level with the pump off, or actually there is no pump in the well, the air compressor off, my static level is about 21 feet. With it pumping like this, the drawdown is about 3 to 5 feet, so you can probably say, to be safe, my static level is about 25 feet right now. So it could be a little deeper, but you know, we've been in that drought, but it seems like the drought's not affecting my well at all. So this thing is like what the people are telling me. This water could be 25,000 years old, and the Carrizo Wilcox is not affected by drought. And that's what I've seen around here also. What affects our wells is Alcoa pulling down our water table with their mining, but that's a whole nother radio show. Anyway, back to tuning this well. My situation here was what I just told you on my well. I don't need very much pressure. You can see the gauge. It's about, let's see, 15, 16, 17. It's showing about 18 right now. So, you know, this gauge could be off a couple of pounds. I think it is. But that's the general idea there. And how I'm tuning my well is I'm not actually tuning this pump. I'm blowing off the air that this pump doesn't need to produce the way it is with 2 other pumps in the well. So if you look real close, this is the 1.25 inch line, and this is my 1/2 inch for the air delivery that feeds this Airlift. But when I say blowing off my air instead of blowing it off into the atmosphere, I figured out, well, if I got extra air with my little compressor, why not put 2 more pumps in there? So I came off my casing like this. So I wide off there with like a sanitary, or whatever you call that, 4-inch, can't remember what they're called, waste, sanitary waste. Anyway, so I got a 3/4 inch here and a 3/4 inch there. And if you've watched any of my videos, this one goes up to the house and through the house, and this one goes straight to the front yard into the water feature for the goldfish pond. And they're also being driven by a 1/2 inch for air. There's a 1/2 inch for air. So this is 3/4 inch black poly where the water's coming out, 3/4 inch black poly, and 1/2 inch to deliver air for each one of these Airlifts setups here. So instead of me just blowing it off into the atmosphere, I'm actually using it to pump more water. And I'm getting about 1 gallon per minute out of each one of these because I have it metered right here. If you look at my valves, this is how I meter the air that's going into the smaller pumps. And this one is just going nowhere, so this is an extra one if I wanted to put another pump down the well, but my casing's not big enough. It's only a 4-inch casing, but I got 3 Airlift pumps in it, believe it or not. So there's 6 pipes going down that well. They're pumping 24/7, and they're all tuned pretty much perfect. I mean, you couldn't ask for any better as far as pulse rate. That's what you want. You want a consistent pulse like a steam train almost, and that's what you want it to look like. You don't want it to like be, how should I say, you don't want it really erratic. If the water's coming out real erratic and aggressive, that means you're driving it with too much air. You know, always the question I always get over and over and over again, which is frustrating for me because people email me these questions and I can't answer via email because I get so many questions via email. I tell them just look at the videos or call me. My phone number is on my website, organicmike.com. If you have any questions, I love to answer phone calls about airlift wells, because the more you do this, the more I learn from you, from your well depths and everything. You know, I just have my one little laboratory here to test with in my situation, but when I get people doing the same thing with their wells, I learn from them as well. So please call me. My phone number is on my website, organicmike.com. But back to what, as far as the pulse, if your pulse pauses and then surges real fast, and then pauses and then surge real fast, and then pause, surge real fast, that means you're hitting it with too much air. If it pauses and then it barely comes out, and then pauses and barely comes out, and you know it's even less aggressive than this, that means it's not enough air. So you saw a short pause right there if you were paying attention, which you know you can't really get it more perfect than this. I've spent a year just messing around with this thing on and off. When I walk out here, I'll tune it, and what I do is I actually add more air to my smaller pumps, the ones over there I showed you. I never cut the air off on my big pump here. I just let it open flow, and I blow off my extra air that I don't need by turning these little meter valves. So that's actually sending more or less air to my both individual pumps. So that's how I've set up my system. Originally I was blowing the air off with this big valve here, and I was just taking this air and putting it into the pond over there with the aeration head, but it really wasn't that much air that I was really needing to blow off. So that's why that's sitting there like that. I just need to cap that off. But this is what you want, and this is what you want to see in an optimum airlift tuning situation that I found. It's a pretty even pulse, and see there was a short pause right there, but you can't really get it more perfect than that, trust me. I want to walk you over here. So this is like a 200-gallon water trough for cows. I have the overflow coming out right here. I don't know if you can see it coming out pretty good click there, well over a couple of gallons per minute. And then I also have another line coming off the bottom of this tank going, it's 1.25 inches that takes a turn, and it goes straight down here, and it goes down to my ram pump. And I'm experimenting with it today. Easy words, easy for you to say, experimenting with it. So anyway, that 1.25 inch line goes right here, it takes a 90, and it comes up to my ram pump here. And what I'm doing today is I'm messing around with, I put two, what was happening with my ram pump is over a couple of months worth of time, that's funny, I don't care who you are. In about 2 months, this thing will fill all the way up with water. And ram pumps, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Ram pumps need an air chamber to help slap that gate valve open and close. Plus it needs to have a shock wave in the pulse of here. So there's two things that need to work here. You need a pretty good shock wave to get that thing to open back up. And you also need the ability for that water to compress just a little bit and expand. And that's what helps that check valve open up there. And if you don't know how the ram pumps work, there's several videos out there. Everybody's got different designs. This is just my design. It's different from everybody else's, but I just kind of like it because it's simple and you can get all these parts at the hardware store. But what I did is I put a gauge down here to see how much pressure I could build up with my ram pump. So it's still clicking. It's about 20, almost 30 psi. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to get my phone wet. The camera. This is a Galaxy S3. There you go. So that's about 30 psi. And I've seen it close to 60 before, but I have to leave it clicking for about 25 minutes. But what's cool about my design that I kind of looked at all the different ram pump designs out there and simplified it, and just used stuff I had laying around the house. A friend of mine gave me this tank. It's just an open tank. I put some inner tubes in it, some bicycle tubes, 2 of them, and then aired them up, you know, with about, to where the tube was about that fat, the bicycle tubes. There's 2 of them in there, and the reason why I did that is so when this does fill up with water like it's doing every couple of months, my pump doesn't stop on me, because that's what would happen. This thing will completely fill up with water, and I wouldn't have any expansion for the water to pulse in there, so this thing would stop clicking after a while. And that's only happened twice this year, so I'm kind of getting real picky. It's November the 13th, so for this thing to stop clicking twice in a year, I'm just kind of being picky about it. But I don't want this thing to ever stop when I'm not out here. They'll say I go on a vacation, which I never do, but anyway. This is my design here where I can control, I can turn it off completely if I want with this valve. So let's say I don't want the thing clicking if I'm out here wanting some peace and quiet. But I can turn it back on, and if your system's set up right, it should start pretty automatic. And if not, I start mine with this. I have this little piece of pipe, and this is how I started. I would manually click it, and then you know, sometimes it takes about 30 seconds of doing this for it to build up enough pressure. When you start a ram pump, here's another thing you want to do. You want to make sure your output valves are completely closed, because the more back pressure this tank has, the better it's going to keep this thing pulsing to get it started. So that's another thing that people have a problem with, is starting the ram pumps. Make sure you shut off your output side. A lot of people forget that. And then it'll start clicking for you. You know, you might have to click on this thing for a minute sometimes to build up enough pressure in your tank for this thing to start pulsing the way it's supposed to. But back to the way I rigged this up, I put a union right here. So if I want my clicking to be quicker and not so aggressive, not that much water is wasted out of my wastegate here, and it's not sending that much water back up to the other tank. This water is going about 500 to 600 feet across the property to a Houston toad habitat that I built. Uh-oh. What's going on with my camera? Is it still recording? Yep, something weird was going on. So anyway, I'm going to cut this short because my camera was doing something weird. So anyway, shorter pulse. You can swing it all the way down and it pretty much shuts it off. And I can shut it off completely. Or I can come up here and have hard, longer pulses with the ram pump. And that'll give you a lot quicker, that's going to give you a higher pressure, but it doesn't necessarily build up a higher pressure quicker, but it will give you a higher pressure in the tank because you got a harder pulse. And you can even get it to open flow sometimes, and that's a really heavy pulse right there if you swing it to the other side. And the reason why it's doing that is because the check valve is, you know, it's flopping this way like that. Let me show you here. Let me simulate this valve. So it's closed and open, closed, open. I don't know if you can see that check valve, but it's just a brass check valve right there. And that's basically what it's doing. Opens up. That's what's going on. So that's why when I turn it this way, that valve is sticking open longer because of the gravity. And that's how I've set up my ram pump. So it's tunable. I like things to be tunable. I am an engineer, so I like to tinker and tune. So that's kind of my ram pump 101. And if you look at one of my videos from last year, my water wheel boat, it's on either one of my YouTube channels. You can find it on organicmike.com. I have both the buttons up there. Subscribe if you like this kind of stuff, please. And comment and experiment and teach me something. I love learning. You can see where this water is going from last year. And if you look at my up-to-date videos, you can see the habitat that's been created just by this one ram pump. This thing's sending about 1 gallon per minute of water, almost 2 gallons per minute of water across the property. All the way, ducks are happy. The tank goes around there, and that's the higher side of the property. I say higher side, there's really no high side, but the water habitat that I built. I hand dug this tank for the Houston toads, and I fenced it off so the frogs can't eat them. So the frogs can't eat them. So the ducks will not eat the frogs. Yeah, too much caffeine today. Coffee and tea. Anyway, this is my ram pump design, and it's getting close to exactly 30 psi down here. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open this sucker up. I know it'll do at least 60, but if I wanted to do 60, I'd have to turn this up to hit harder like this, because you can definitely tell a difference in the way that valve's clicking. But I'm going to go ahead and open this baby up so I can continue watering the habitat that I've created for the Houston toads, because especially after that fire last year in Bastrop, they are almost endangered in that area, so I like the frogs. So here we go. I'm going to open this up. You're going to see this pressure drop. What's this? I'm going to try to do this without dropping this thing. So, let me get this thing in focus. You'll see the thing drop. I just opened it up, so see it drop pretty quick. You need to be looking at the black one. The red one is the maximum pressure. It's not dropping that quick. It is dropping though. It's almost down to 20. If I can hold the thing straight. You know, I said I was going to keep this video short, but I really have never focused on my ram pump designs. And I have several different types of scenarios like this. I've made smaller ones with 3/4 inch ram pumps, and I found that the 1.25 inch ram pump is the best size for the way that the gate valve flops around. Trust me on that one. And the bigger the brass gate valves you go, the more expensive they are. So 1.25 inch is about the perfect size for that. The 3/4 inch ram pump that I've made, that's sitting in this habitat over here, or it used to, you could see it. They're harder to keep going if you don't have a good fall and back pressure on your system. But there is another ram pump just like the one we just looked at right there. But that's my backup ram pump, just in case I need it for something. If my well produced more water, I could run both of them at the same time. But I just don't have enough production to run 2 ram pumps off of this trough. So what I'm basically doing is, all this water, you know, this video is so long, I might as well walk up here and show you what else I'm doing. All this water that's coming out of the ground is just a little bitty compressor. And I'll show you that compressor on a later date. But it's a little bitty 110 compressor, rocking piston Thompson compressor. That's not what you're hearing in the background. That's my neighbor airing up a tire or something. But I'm going to show you, here's production off of one of those Airlift pumps right there. That's overflow off of the goldfish pond right here. So let me give you an idea of what you're looking at. There's goldfish in here, and there's horse's tail. I use this to remineralize my teeth if you chew on it. I don't eat it, I spit it out, but I'm sure you're supposed to eat it. But this is one of the Airlift pumps I showed you. There's one of the 2 smaller ones. So that's about as good as it's going to get. I mean, they're going, what, 300 feet from the well? So that's pretty good out of that one little 3/4 inch. And here's the other one. This one actually goes through the house, if you looked at my other videos. And I'm doing an experiment here. People are telling me that you can't go very far with Airlift. Well, you tell me what you're looking at here. This is the water coming out here. This is coming from the well, going this way. And I'm back feeding. I've fed this thing from the bottom up. So the water, it took about 40 minutes to come up. Came all the way to the top. I pulled this plug out first though, and this is the overflow, and this is the production I'm getting off the other 3/4 inch pump. So with all that restriction, this thing's full of water, it's still filling it up. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So the cool thing about what I'm doing, people might think, well, this is crazy. Well, no, it's not. If you have a well with Airlift like I'm doing, you could just set you a little 3/4 inch pump in the well. There's really no pump, just the pipe and the air coming in. And you can fill one of these tanks in about 40 minutes. And you could series it into another tank, come out of the top of this one, go into the bottom of another tank, do the same thing, or get you a bigger tank, depending on the head pressure. I don't know the limitation yet. I'm still trying to put this stuff to the limits, and so far it's impressed me till I just can't even put my head around it. But to get back to what I was talking about, you can have a little water tower and feed a water tower just like this. And the reason why I'm feeding it from the bottom is because I want to structure my water with oxygen. And from what I've been reading, structured water is the specific gravity is lower and everything, and it's just it basically makes the water wetter. It's not as hard as it usually, well water is usually pretty hard, especially around this area. It's full of minerals, and this really softens it up a little bit, in a sense. Not like running it through a softener, but if you can hear this bubbling, that's the extra air. That's the air coming through the Airlift system with the water. So, and that's what it's producing with this back pressure. And my idea is instead of feeding it from the very bottom like that, there was 2 holes right here. I'll feed it from the one that's from about 6 inches from the bottom right here. So I'll feed it here, and then I'll put my pump here, my suction pump on the very bottom. So I'll have as much reserve as possible. And they make these little 110 pumps that have a built-in pressure tank. They're made, I think, in Germany, but I can't remember who makes them. But anyway, and that's what I'm going to do to feed my house with water. And I'm going to get off the city water, because the bills are just running $150 a month, $130 a month for my water bill, because they charge you trash and wastewater and all that. It's just over the top. I just can't handle paying that anymore. So this is basically what I'm doing with one little Airlift. And I guess I'll just, seeing how this video is long, I'm going to show you the compressor that's running this system. Go in the house here. This is that one that you saw running through I said it's running through the house. Here it is. You can hear the air and the water running through here. Oh, cool. It turned on automatic light when it got dark in here. So this is my backup system. If the power fails, I can run this pipe right here straight into my Berkey and filter the water. So, but this runs all the way through the radio studio here. Yes, I have the radio studio in the house. This is clickstreamlive.com, or it's the old KTAE equipment from Cameron, but it's moved into my house now. So anyway, go straight out right there, and that pipe was the one that goes all the way around outside, and that goes. That's the one that's feeding the tank that we just saw. And I'll follow it backwards, so it goes through the kitchen, and it goes over the wash machine. So if I needed to wash some clothes, I could fill this puppy up. Right there I have another one of those Ys where I could put a water hose and fill up my thing to wash clothes there by hand. So that's just all just for fun. And let's follow this through the house. It goes through here. You can hear the compressor. Now I'm going to warn you, it's going to be hard to talk in here. Let me turn on another light. Here, I have an automatic light remote deal here. Should be able to turn this light on with this remote. And there's 2 compressors in here. One of them's running the pond aeration in the tank outside to aerate the pond There's 2 heads that I have in my tank, and the compressor on the right is the one that runs the water well stuff that we're looking at, all the airlift stuff. There's some real money, if money's actually real. There's a silver certificate and a, that's what Kennedy printed that could have got him shot. Who knows? It's the United States note. So those are in a frame. Anyway, so here's what we're looking at here. This one runs the pond aeration, and it's cooler to the touch because it's not under any pressure. This is the one that runs the 3 pumps on the wells. So they're pretty quiet, and there's no maintenance. It's been running for close to a year and a half now. This little bitty 110 compressor runs the airlift pump that you saw out there, the 2 in the front yard, the experiment I'm running in the front yard with the tank, and it's also feeding the ram pump, and the ram pump is what feeds the habitat that I built for the frogs across the property. So just this one little compressor is doing all that, and this one is running the pond aeration. It runs the 2 heads to keep the water clean in the tank outside the big pond. And you can see they're on 2 separate air systems. So this one here, the green one, is where the pond aeration comes up to the back of here. They're not connected. And this one here goes, actually, some of my air is going to the aquarium too. So this aerates my aquarium also on this one. So this thing is doing a lot of work. It's getting a lot of work done for not taking up so much energy is what I'm getting at. And a lot of people are saying that I did this as a joke, by the way, to hopefully when YouTube gives me the thumbnails on my video, maybe they'll mark this one. I just did that as a joke. So it's got my website, my old website on it. We'll see how funny that is to YouTube. Because I wish they'd add a feature where you could pick your own thumbnails on your videos. But anyway, yeah, my house is full of old radio station equipment that needs to be gotten rid of. But anyway, there is a tour of my airlift system with ram pump and compressor. And if you look real close, there is the water well right there that we were just looking at earlier. And to the left there, you're looking at the top of a broken down golf cart I need to fix. So anyway, comes right through the studio here, so if you hear me on the air sometimes you might hear the water bubbling. But my other concept here is to take some copper tube and run it around the wood stove here and heat the water for the fish outside too when it gets really cold. So I just need to do that. Don't hit your head on the fan. So anyway, that is the airlift system. And just to show you the back here, it comes out of the back of the house. That's the pipe that goes around the house. And I have a T right there, so if I needed to have some water for the cats or whatever, I can water that situation. So, and here's another old compressor that I'm restoring. Oh, and you never have enough compressed air. I took out my dishwasher because it was leaking and I don't feel like messing with it. So, and I replaced it with this antique DeVelbis air compressor. So, just in case my other compressor, see, I replaced it where the dishwasher, where you turn it on. And the sucker will start pressuring out. And it kicks off right about 90 pounds. Right there. Close to 100. There we go. Now this is a floating valve system. They don't do this much anymore because they don't make compressors like this anymore. But you hear the valves are floating with these brass assemblies right here. And you can adjust that, the cutout pressure, and the motor still runs. It actually saves power, believe it or not, because you're not surging the thing on and off. And they're a lot more pleasant to be around. It's not very loud at all. And that thing is probably producing 9 cubic feet per minute at 90 to 90 to 60 psi. I can't remember, but anyway, another reason why I rigged this up like this is to clean my well. I backfeed it with air, and this line is, you know, I'll cut this valve off right here, and then I backfeed it and I push air back down the line where the water was coming from, a lot of air from that compressor, and that cleans the well screen and it purges, because it's kind of like jetting your well, but not as aggressive. And there it goes. Isn't that cool? The valves are just floating right there. That's just awesome. But anyway, I love restoring old compressors like that, because once I figured out what you can do with air and water, I started searching and asking everybody I knew about if they had any old air compressors laying around. I got that thing for $20, believe it or not. And all that was wrong with it was the wiring. So there's a little tour of my place, and I have to post this video because I spent so much time on it. So there we go. This is, believe it or not, I'm running 3 pumps, actually 4, and about 10 to 12 water features. When I say water features, stuff like this on the property, off that one little compressor you saw in the closet there. And this is unbelievably producing water with all that back pressure on that airlift pump too. So you can definitely be having a grid down situation pretty easy. Store your water in a water tower and aerate the water at the same time. That's why I'm back feeding it from the bottom, because it keeps the water moving and oxygenates your water, structures it. It's better for you, and it keeps it softened up basically. And it's just unbelievable what Airlift will do. And I've had a lot of people tell me that, you know, it won't work. Well, here it is. There's no trickery going on here. If you don't believe me, I'll give you a tour of my place, and you can see it for yourself. There's my moringa trees. We've been getting some freezes in the last couple of days, but this microclimate up here, it's a little warmer up here in the front yard. They survived both of the freezes, so we're doing good. Organicmike.com. Subscribe if you like.